I tried to ignore the subtle shifts in our marriage, convincing myself the late nights were just work. But the truth shattered when I was at the sink, the suds dripping away from the glass, revealing his black sedan 3 houses down, parked at her place. Again. I am now racing against the clock, needing to gather undeniable evidence and secure my half of everything before he realizes I know. If I confront him without leverage, he will simply lie and discard me. But as I start digging into his financial records and private calls, I realize the affair is the least of my problems. The secrets he is protecting are far darker than infidelity, and exposing them might destroy more than just our marriage. I was scrubbing a coffee mug, watching the steam curl up, when I looked out the kitchen window toward Willow Street. That dark blue sedan wasn't supposed to be there. Not at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. And definitely not parked 2 doors down, outside Chloe's picket fence. My hand slipped, and the mug clattered against the stainless steel sink, but I didn't feel the sudden jolt of noise. My focus was locked on the car. Mark was supposed to be 1,500 miles away in Denver, presenting at the annual tech conference. His itinerary had been taped to the fridge. Flight out Monday morning, return Thursday evening. He'd even complained about the, stale airport coffee. I peeled off the yellow rubber gloves, dropping them onto the counter. I didn't finish the dishes. I didn't check the time. I grabbed my phone, keys, and the nearest jacket. My heart wasn't pounding with rage yet. It felt cold and hollow, like a dry well. I walked fast, taking the shortcut through Mrs. Henderson's yard, telling myself it was a mistake. Maybe a colleague borrowed his sedan and drove it back early. But Mark hadn't lied to me in 10 years just for a colleague to borrow his personalized dark blue car and park it 2 streets from our house in the middle of a workday. I crouched behind Mrs. Henderson's oversized rose bushes, the thorns snagging the wool of my jacket. Chloe's house looked perfectly ordinary. The dark blue sedan was unmistakable. Mark's, the personalized plate, the small scratch on the rear bumper from last year when he backed into the mailbox. That was confirmation enough, but the fear, or the residual hope, demanded visual proof. I checked the time, 3:15 p.m. I circled quickly to the alley, where the detached garage was visible. The side door to Chloe's house was slightly ajar. I heard a muffled laugh, then a deeper, low, and instantly recognizable voice. Mark's. I pulled out my phone and switched to video. The goal wasn't just evidence, it was perfect, timed evidence. I moved, silently, to the closest side window, which offered a narrow sliver of view into the dining room. They weren't there. They were in the hallway, moving toward the stairs. Mark had his arm around her. Chloe was wearing one of those pale blue, silky robes I'd seen advertised online. They stopped momentarily by the staircase. He whispered something, running his hand down her back, and she giggled, leaning into his chest. That whisper, that gesture, it wasn't just a physical cheat. It was comfortable. It was routine. It was the same proprietary look he gave me on our wedding night. That mix of exhaustion and absolute, singular focus. It wasn't a mistake. It was a commitment. I didn't need to hear the words. I already had the image. I stood up, backing away slowly, letting the phone drop back into my pocket, still recording the empty yard just in case the camera captured some audio of their footsteps. The cold feeling was gone, replaced by a perfect, searing clarity. I remembered my mother's voice echoing from years ago, right before I married him, after he had tried to gently undermine my application to business school. He sees you as a stepping stone, darling. He's afraid of what you could be. He will never be secure enough to let you win. That insult, that prediction, now hit with the force of an absolute truth. Mark hadn't too, just cheated. He had confirmed every fear I had suppressed, every doubt I had ignored while I built our shared life, while I funded his early ventures. He was supposed to be my partner, He had been my anchor and my ceiling. I didn't go back to the sink. I walked straight home, bypassing the front door, heading directly for the study where the house safe was hidden behind the custom bookshelf. The conference in Denver was a lie. The car was proof. My marriage ended at 3:18 p.m. on Willow Street. Now, I had work to do before Mark got home. The combination to the safe was our anniversary date, which was fittingly ironic. Inside, I pulled out the original title deeds, the prenuptial agreement, which he had insisted on, thinking he would be the primary breadwinner, and the corporate documents for his new startup. He knew I handled all the finances, but he didn't know I also handled the legal, architecture, quietly updating the beneficiary designations and ownership splits after every significant investment I made into his company, which was, technically, a loan from my family trust. I sat down at the large mahogany desk, pulling up my laptop. I had about 3 hours. First, the passwords. I knew his general patterns. His email was a simple variation of his college mascot and our wedding year. I was logged in within 60 seconds. The inbox was exactly what I expected. Confirmations for the Denver trip that were canceled, and a frantic series of messages between Mark and his business partner, David. David, the Q3 numbers are terrible. The bank is going to pull the line of credit next month if we don't show immediate profit expansion. Where the hell are you? Mark, relax. I'm handling things. Wife thinks I'm out of town. We'll figure out the numbers when I get back. Tonight. Just stall them. So, the company was sinking, and he was hiding 2 blocks away, cheating, instead of fixing his colossal business failure. Excellent. This wasn't just emotional betrayal. It was financial recklessness that threatened the assets I primarily owned. I downloaded the entire email archive onto a secure drive. Next, his phone backup. I had access to his iCloud account for emergencies. I triggered a full backup to my dedicated server, specifically targeting his deleted messages and photo library. While the data downloaded, I called my lawyer, Brenda. I didn't waste time on pleasantries. Brenda, it's me. I need an emergency injunction. Right now. Mark is dissolving assets and is currently committing infidelity 2 blocks from the house. I have video proof of both. Brenda, usually calm, went silent. Video of the infidelity? Yes, and emails confirming his knowledge of his company's imminent collapse and his active misleading of the bank to maintain the credit line. He's been lying about the Denver trip to facilitate the affair. I need to freeze every liquid asset tied to his name and the joint accounts, effective immediately. And I need to start the dissolution of the company, citing gross financial mismanagement, before he drains the last of the equity I invested. Understood, Brenda said, her voice turning sharp and professional. We can file the emergency motion for financial protection based on fraudulent misrepresentation of solvency. I can have the preliminary papers digitally signed and filed with the court clerk within the hour, before the closing bell. We'll get the freeze order on the company funds and the joint accounts. Good. One more thing. I need a separation agreement drafted tonight. We will serve him with divorce, papers, and the injunction at the same time. When are you serving him? Tonight, when he walks in the door. I checked the clock. 5:15 p.m. He usually got home around 6:30 p.m. after a long day at the office. I'll handle the domestic end. You handle the legal and corporate end. Make sure his access to corporate accounts is revoked the moment the freeze order goes through. Consider it done. And Amelia? Don't break anything expensive that isn't his heart. I hung up, feeling a grim satisfaction. The money was safe, the legal wheels were turning, and the evidence was secured. I opened the file for the prenuptial agreement. He'd been so proud of the clauses he'd pushed for, particularly the one regarding the immediate repayment of principal loans made by either party upon filing for divorce, regardless of the success of the investment. He never imagined I would be the one funding him. I calculated the total investment I had made into his struggling startup over the past 3 years. $850,000. Under the terms of the prenup, he owed me that money back, with interest, the moment the papers were filed. Money he clearly didn't have, given David's frantic emails. I started packing. Not my things, though. I went straight to Mark's closet. I didn't use suitcases. I used the large, black, industrial trash bags I kept in the garage, for yard waste. Dress shirts, suits, golf clubs, shoes, all went into the bags. No folding, no care. This wasn't moving. This was expelling waste. I took the framed photo of us from our honeymoon off the bedside table. I looked at his smiling face. That earnest, charming smile he had just flashed at Chloe. I tossed the photo into the last trash bag containing his underwear and socks. I dragged the bags down the stairs and piled them neatly beside the front door. It was 6:25 p.m. The house was spotless, quiet, and felt strangely peaceful, like a chamber vacuumed of stale air. I changed into a simple dark blue dress, applied a perfect shade of red lipstick, and walked into the kitchen. I had time to set the table. 2 plates. The good china. I cooked his favorite meal, slow-roasted lamb shoulder with rosemary and garlic. I poured a glass of the expensive Cabernet Sauvignon he usually hoarded. Everything looked beautiful. Perfect wife, perfect meal, perfect lighting. I sat down at the table, placed my phone beside my wine glass, and waited. The garage door opened at 6:41 p.m. I heard the muffled sound of the car being parked and the heavy thud of the door closing. The key turned in the lock. Mark walked in, looking tired but flushed. He was wearing the same shirt he was wearing when I saw him at Chloe's house, slightly rumpled, smelling faintly of cheap cologne I didn't recognize. He stopped when he saw the scene, the perfectly set table, the aroma of lamb filling the air. "Amelia, wow, what is all this?" He smiled, moving to kiss me. I tilted my head, avoiding the kiss. "Dinner, I thought we should celebrate." "Celebrate what? Did the market turn around?" He laughed, heading toward the wine bottle. "No," I said, my voice low and completely steady. "We are celebrating your freedom." He paused with his hand on the bottle. His eyes narrowed slightly. He hadn't smelled the change in the air yet, only the lamb. "Freedom? What are you talking about?" I picked up the remote from the counter and hit the play button on the large living room screen. The screen immediately lit up with the video feed from my phone, showing his sedan parked outside Chloe's house, then switching to the shaky video of him, arm around her, whispering by the stairs. Mark froze, his face draining of color. The color of his skin matched the white wine bottle in his hand. "Amelia, wait. This is 3:18 p.m., I interrupted, cutting through his inevitable denial. "I was washing dishes when I saw your car on Willow Street. You must be tired from your long day in Denver." He dropped the wine bottle. It didn't shatter, just rolled silently onto the thick wool rug. "It's not what you think. She's just a friend. She needed help with..." I stood up, pushing my chair back slowly. I walked over to the front door, gesturing to the mountain of black trash bags. "That is your life, Mark, all of it, packed and ready for collection. Your freedom starts now." I didn't let him speak. I reached into the jacket pocket and pulled out the legal documents. "This is the temporary restraining order on all liquid assets. And this is the divorce petition. My lawyer filed them both 2 hours ago." I placed the thick stack of papers on top of the trash bags. "The final document is the repayment schedule for the $850,000 you owe me from the capital loans, per Section 4.1 of the prenuptial agreement. It is due immediately." He looked from the screen to the bags, then to the documents. His face twisted from fear to sheer panic as the financial reality hit him harder than the infidelity. Can't do this, Amelia. The company? If you freeze the accounts, the bank will call the debt. You'll ruin me. You ruined yourself at 3:18 p.m., Mark. And actually, I paused, walking back to the table, picking up my glass of Cabernet. I took a slow sip. I am doing this. I didn't spend 10 years building a life just to let you burn it down because you were insecure about my success. I pointed toward the door. You have 5 minutes to take your trash and leave. I already called a tow truck for the car. He stood there, mouth open, realizing he had lost everything. The house, the money, the security, in one swift, perfectly calculated move. He finally saw what I had become. Not the stepping stone he had tried to keep down, but the foundation he had foolishly tried to break. You will never be anything without me, Mark, I said, echoing the sentiment he had tried to instill in me years ago. But the difference is, I know how to be something without you. You don't. I stepped back from the doorway, letting the cold air of the autumn night rush into the foyer. He looked like a puppet whose strings had been cut, standing there limp by the Persian rug he thought he owned. The bags are by the door, I stated, pointing towards 2 battered suitcases near the coat rack. They were cheap, ugly bags, the kind you buy at a convenience store, not his custom leather luggage. A deliberate, small cruelty. You have 10 minutes to take them and walk out. The key code is being changed now. The locksmith is already here waiting in the car. He finally moved, shaking his head. This is insane. You think this is legal? I'll sue you. I'll ruin you. Try it, I countered, genuinely smiling. I kept the receipts for everything. The loans, the investments you mishandled, the payments I made to keep your creditors quiet. The prenup was ironclad, Mark, but I'm not even using the prenup. I'm using the documentation of fraud and financial mismanagement. I bought you out of this partnership piece by piece, while you were busy telling your receptionist I was too emotional to handle the finances. He took a step towards me, his eyes flaring. This was the moment I waited for, the shift from disbelief to predictable rage. Don't, I warned, lifting my phone. I already alerted the private security firm I hired last week that if you raise your voice or touch anything, they come in and remove you forcefully. They know everything. They have video of your little rendezvous at the Hyatt, too, just in case you forgot how cooperative you need to be right now. That stopped him cold. He remembered the footage. He stumbled to the cheap bags. Where am I supposed to go? He mumbled, grabbing the handle of one bag. That is no longer my problem, Mark. Your little side piece, Tiffany? She might have a couch, or maybe that business partner you were bragging about, the one who supposedly admired your aggressive management style. Call him. Just don't call me. He dragged the bags to the door. He tried one last time to use the old manipulation, the plea for history. We had a life, Sarah. Don't throw that away. I leaned against the doorframe, watching him struggle to balance the 2 cheap suitcases. We had a transaction, Mark. I paid for security, and you provided disappointment and risk. The contract is terminated. Now, exit the premises. He slipped out, the door slamming shut behind him, the sound echoing hollowly in the now empty hall. I didn't wait for the sound of his footsteps fading. I walked immediately to the security panel and typed the new 8-digit code, waited for the loud beep-beep confirming the change, and then sighed. It was over. I walked straight to the office I had built for myself, the one he always joked was too big for a hobbyist when he thought my work was just frivolous blogging. I logged into the bank system. All joint accounts consolidated into my corporate accounts. The wire transfers confirmed, including the final payoff to his largest silent creditor, the one he thought I knew nothing about. The deeds were signed, registered, and secured under the holding company I established 3 months ago. Clean, quick, legal. The phone rang. It was my lawyer, David. It's done, I told him, not needing to ask who he was calling about. Smooth execution, Sarah. He's already called my office, furious. He's threatening a restraining order. On what grounds? That I evicted a trespasser after buying his share out based on documented evidence of financial negligence? I laughed, a dry, satisfied sound. Let him waste his energy. He has no leverage. Send the final documentation packet to my secured email. I want everything filed and locked down before midnight. Consider it done. And Sarah? That was spectacular. Truly efficient. Thanks, David. I learned from the best, or the worst, depending on how you look at it. I hung up and looked around the empty office. I didn't feel triumph, not really. Just the cold satisfaction of professional completion. The emotional pain had been dealt with weeks ago, filed away under business expense and motivation. I went into the kitchen, the space where I'd spent countless hours cooking meals he barely noticed, preparing for a future he planned to share with someone else. I poured myself a glass of expensive champagne, the one we were supposed to save for our 10th anniversary next year. The irony was perfect. I raised the glass, not to Mark, but to myself, to the woman who listened, who watched, and who calculated every single move. He thought I was defined by my dependence on him, a decorative accessory for his ambition. He never understood that while he was busy networking and sleeping around, I was learning the system. I learned how corporate finances actually work, how to navigate offshore accounts, how to use the law not just as a defense but as a weapon. Mark always saw me as soft. He mistook patience for weakness and silence for ignorance. He believed the lie he told everyone, that he was the brain and I was just the pretty face he tolerated. The truth was simple. I wasn't fighting Mark. I was fighting the idea he represented. The idea that a woman should minimize herself to make a mediocre man feel important. He thought he was building an empire. He wasn't. He was building a pedestal for me to stand on, while I systematically dismantled his foundation beneath his feet. I took a long sip of the champagne. It tasted like victory, yes, but mostly, it tasted like absolute freedom. I didn't lose my husband. I discarded a liability that had been draining my resources and my peace. The final lesson, the one Mark would spend the next decade learning in some cramped, rented apartment, was this: never underestimate the woman who is quiet while you are loud. She is not distracted. She is gathering evidence. I placed the empty glass on the counter. Time to change the decor. Time to start my life. The house was finally completely mine. I didn't just survive his betrayal. I used it to launch myself higher. And that, truly, was the greatest revenge of all. I called the movers the next morning. Mark's side of the closet was still an empty expanse, but the living room still had his heavy leather armchair and the hideous landscape painting his mother had gifted us. Those things needed to go. I didn't want the objects he liked polluting my space. I sold the chair online within 2 hours. Quick cash, quicker clearance. The painting went to a charity shop. I replaced them with light, functional pieces. The house felt lighter too, like a weight had been lifted from the foundation. That week, I scheduled every hour. No more silent anxiety watching the clock, wondering where he was or what lie I would have to navigate. It was just work. I took the early meetings, the late calls. My focus was absolute. My boss noticed. "You look different, Amelia," Sandra said during our Tuesday check-in. "Sharper. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." "Just clearing up some old debts," I told her, smiling. The clearing paid off instantly. I pitched the Henderson account, the one Mark always said was too aggressive for my style, and I nailed it. The contract was signed Friday afternoon, biggest win of my career so far. I celebrated with takeout sushi and a single glass of good Bordeaux, sitting in my clean, quiet kitchen. It wasn't the dramatic party I might have thrown 5 years ago, but this peace was better than any celebration. The quiet didn't last long, though. Mark tried to call that evening. Then he texted. "Mark, look, I know I messed up. Can we talk? I miss the house." I didn't reply. I blocked the number and kept eating my tuna roll. He wasn't missing me. He was missing the comfort I provided. That was the core of his personality. Entitlement, dressed up as affection. 2 weeks later, I was deep into remodeling the spare room into a proper home office. Soundproofing, built-in shelves, the works, when my phone rang. It was David, a friend from our old social circle. "Hey Amelia, just checking in. Heard you're doing well." "I am. Very well, actually." David hesitated. Good. Look, I saw Mark the other day. He's adjusting." I knew what adjusting meant. It meant miserable. "He's in that studio apartment downtown," David continued, lowering his voice. "He was complaining about the noise, the lack of parking. He asked if I could put in a good word for him with you. Said he realized what he lost." I stopped measuring the wall for the shelf unit. "Did he mention why he lost it, David? Or is he still focused only on the parking situation?" David sighed. "He's still Mark. He's blaming the stress of his job, the lack of sex, everything but his own choices." "Tell him this, David," I said, picking up the tape measure again. "Tell him the price of that mistake was the house, the comfort, and the access to me. There are no refunds and no exchanges. And tell him I'm getting a new security system installed next week, just in case." I hung up before David could offer any platitudes. I didn't need pity or mediation. I needed walls and a roof that belonged only to me. The next phase wasn't just physical restructuring. It was financial consolidation. I met with my financial advisor, Lisa, the following Monday. She looked over the final settlement papers and my recent professional gains. "Amelia, you are crushing this. The equity from the house alone sets you up beautifully, and the Henderson account commission is huge. What's the goal now?" Lisa asked, pushing her glasses up her nose. "I want control, full control. I want to buy out the small partners in the firm I work for," I stated. "I want my own seat at the ownership table. I don't want to wait 5 years. I want it now." Lisa leaned back, impressed. "That's aggressive. It will require liquidating some investments, but it's entirely doable, especially with this new cash flow. We can start drafting the offer memo this week." "Start today, Lisa. I don't wait for things anymore." The pursuit of ownership became my new obsession. It was clean, measurable, and dependent only on my effort, not on someone else's fidelity. I worked late for 3 straight months. I finalized the buyout agreement. I negotiated the terms of my partnership. There was no fanfare, just signed paper and a new keycard. When I walked into the firm the day after the documents were finalized, I felt the difference. I wasn't an employee anymore. I was a proprietor. I decided to throw a small dinner party to celebrate, inviting Sandra, David, reluctantly, just to show Mark's circle I was thriving, and Lisa. I cooked everything. Myself. It was the first time I had entertained in the house since Mark left. As the guests arrived, the energy in the renovated living room was buoyant and focused. Sandra raised her glass first. "To Amelia," she said, beaming. "From executive to partner in 6 months. That's what focus looks like." David, sipping his wine awkwardly, offered a quiet toast. "To freedom." I smiled, accepting the compliments. The conversation flowed easily, talking about business strategy and real estate investments. No one brought up Mark until David broke the unspoken rule, mid-dessert. "He's really having a tough time, Amelia. Rent's killing him. His job is slow." I waited until I had finished chewing the perfect slice of key lime pie. "David, I said calmly. I appreciate you sharing that update, but I'm going to draw a line here. Mark is a consequence of his own actions. His struggle is not my burden, and I will not allow his drama to be the centerpiece of my new life. This is about success, not pity. If you want to talk about the Q4 projections, I'm listening. If you want to talk about Mark's parking issues, I'm going back to the kitchen. The silence was sharp. David nodded quickly, taking the hint. Right. Projections. Lisa, tell me more about those investment properties. The boundary was set. My life was truly mine now, professionally and personally insulated from his poor choices. Later that night, after everyone left, I stood in the middle of the quiet living room. The room was bright, the air was clean. I had the career, the house, and the independence I deserved. Mark's betrayal hadn't broken me. It had just provided the necessary fuel for the explosion into my next chapter. He thought he was destroying my marriage. He was actually funding my empire. And that, I realized, was the final satisfying lesson. I had won the peace, and I had won the war. I walked straight to the home office. The legal paperwork was stacked neatly on the mahogany desk. I didn't celebrate the win. I executed the plan. The first call was to David, my financial advisor. David, the funds from the accelerated property liquidation are cleared. I want the immediate acquisition of the 2 commercial properties we discussed, the ones near the tech park. No delay. Use the trust structure we set up. I need ownership secured by the end of business tomorrow. I kept the conversation transactional, under 3 minutes. Efficiency was key. My phone buzzed 10 minutes later. Mark. I ignored the first call, focusing on finalizing the security details for the new office location. He called again instantly. I answered, my voice flat, professional. What do you want, Mark? He sounded frantic, the calm facade he maintained during the settlement talks completely gone. You sold the cabin, Sarah. You didn't tell me you were selling the cabin we bought together. It was included in the settlement agreement, Mark. Read the papers you signed, I reminded him, irritation spiking. I sold it last week, cash only. The closing was yesterday. I needed the liquidity. But that place meant something. It was where we talked about having kids. I cut him off, not allowing the sentimental hook to land. It meant a poor investment in volatile mountain real estate and a much better return on liquidation. I needed the capital for my new firm. If that is all, I am working. I hung up before he could respond. Sentiment was a liability I no longer carried. The liquidation of the cabin provided the initial substantial capital injection for my new venture. Phoenix Acquisitions. We wouldn't be buying companies. We would be buying leverage. The firm specialized in high-level corporate divorce mediation and aggressive asset restructuring for high-net-worth individuals facing sudden marital dissolution. I needed strong branding, and I knew exactly how to sell the concept of controlled demolition. I needed a specific kind of talent to launch this, someone who understood absolute discretion and counter-surveillance. I called Amelia Vance, a contact from my previous life who specialized in corporate espionage defense. Amelia, I'm ready. I need a tight team. Quiet. Effective. I am starting Phoenix Acquisitions next Monday. I need to ensure my new partners stay absolutely focused and, more urgently, my ex-husband stays distant and uninformed. Can you handle the transition security and corporate vetting? Amelia's response was a dry, professional laugh. Consider it handled, Sarah. I've already pulled preliminary reports on Mark's current financial stability, or lack thereof. He's looking for quick cash. I'll need access to your executive calendar and a list of anyone contacting you who isn't officially retained. I'll have a draft operational plan by morning. Morning works, I confirmed. I ended the call and leaned back, checking the clock. 10 p.m. The day had been productive. Mark's chapter was closed, finalized, and Archived. The prologue to my story had just finished. The real work began now. 2 days later, the commercial deeds were signed and filed. I toured the larger property, a modern, sterile tower overlooking the river. It was the perfect headquarters for Phoenix Acquisitions. The space was mostly empty, waiting for the high-end minimalist build-out. While checking the security system installation, David called back. "Sarah," Mark attempted to freeze. "The remaining joint brokerage account this morning. He claimed fraud." My face remained neutral. Did he succeed? No. Our legal team prepared for this. The judge signed the final execution order on that account yesterday afternoon. Mark's action was flagged and dismissed immediately, but this indicates escalation. He's desperate. "Desperate people make mistakes," I stated. "Let him burn his legal fees. Keep the block on his access. If he contacts the firm directly, forward it to litigation. I don't want to see his name." The next week was a blur of hiring, design meetings, and establishing the protocols. I hired 2 former FBI financial crimes specialists and a high-profile family law attorney who was looking for an aggressive change of pace. We were a lean, mean team focused on maximizing returns through aggressive legal maneuvering. On Wednesday, Amelia presented her initial security report. It wasn't about Mark trying to steal money. It was about reputation. "He's talking, Sarah," Amelia said, projecting a transcript onto the wall. It was an email chain between Mark and his former fraternity brother, now a mid-level manager at a competing firm. "He's spreading the narrative that you used emotional manipulation during the divorce, that you drained the accounts while he was traveling, and that you initiated the betrayal." I read the excerpt. It was pathetic. A victim narrative designed to garner sympathy and poison the well professionally. "This is unacceptable," I said calmly. "He is attempting to slander my professional reputation before I even launch. We need to neutralize this." "I expected this," Amelia replied, tapping the screen. "I already drafted a response strategy. We don't engage directly. We leak the truth, but we leak it professionally. I have a connection at the Journal who handles high-end society gossip, the business page kind. We feed them the clean, verifiable facts, the timeline of his affair, the money he spent on his mistress, and the definitive timeline of the settlement that proves your actions were strictly legal." "I like it," I confirmed. "Execute the leak tonight. Make sure the source is untraceable. I want this story to break Monday morning, right before our official launch announcement. I want Mark to be dealing with a professional investigation into his conduct while I'm signing my first major retainer." Amelia nodded sharply. "The narrative will be that he tried to sabotage your legitimate business venture out of spite, only to have his own infidelity exposed in the process. Clean and brutal." That weekend, I hosted a small private dinner at the headquarters, officially christening Phoenix Acquisitions. It was attended only by my new executive team and David. We toasted to new beginnings and high returns. I was wearing a sharp, tailored suit, the armor of my new life. Sunday night, the phone rang. It was an unknown number, but something told me to answer. It was Mark. His voice was low, furious. The story about Jessica, the leak. You did this." "Did what, Mark?" I asked, sipping my wine. I had already seen the preprint of the article. It was perfect. "The media publishes facts. Perhaps you should have considered that before you started spreading lies about me to your colleagues. This is malicious, Sarah. This will ruin me at the firm." "Your choices ruined you, Mark," I corrected him, standing up to look out over the city lights. "I simply ensured that the public record reflects the truth about those choices. Welcome to the new playing field. You made it personal. I am making it professional. Don't call this number again. Effective immediately. All communication must go through my retained counsel." I disconnected the call without waiting for his final desperate threat. The next morning, the article hit the stands. My phone started ringing immediately, not with threats, but with inquiries. Phoenix Acquisitions was in business. The empire had begun its expansion. I spent the first day fielding calls, not from potential clients, but from banks, curious investors, and his former colleagues. They wanted to know if the article was true, if Phoenix Acquisitions was real, and if I was truly prepared to cannibalize the market he controlled. My answer was always the same. My counsel handles all inquiries regarding my previous life. Phoenix Acquisitions is open for business. My retained counsel, David Sterling, met me at the newly leased, temporary office. Glass walls, minimal furniture. We skipped pleasantries. He filed an emergency injunction this morning, Sterling stated, stacking thin folders, attempting to freeze the majority of the liquid capital transfer from the settlement account. Claims I coerced you into signing. I leaned back. Did he? Pathetic, Sterling scoffed, shaking his head. We filed the preemptive countersuit 3 weeks ago, remember? That capital was legally separated before the ink was dry on the divorce papers. His injunction is already dead. The judge threw it out before lunch. He's grasping. What's the priority now, Isabella? Defense or offense? Offense. He just wasted time and money chasing a ghost. I want the real target. Sector 7. The digital infrastructure he built his reputation on. We discussed the vulnerabilities. Sterling nodded, pulling up a complex projection on the screen. The valuation is inflated, but the acquisition window is tight. If we move now, we can secure 70% before his board even realizes we're bidding. I don't want 70%, David. I want 100. Hostile takeover. Use the remaining settlement funds. Liquidate the secondary bond portfolio if necessary. I want his flagship asset renamed and repurposed by the end of the fiscal quarter. I didn't wait for his reply. I was already dialing Marcus Chen, the operations director I poached last night. He specialized in rapid integration. Marcus, start the due diligence on Sector 7 immediately. I need a comprehensive report on their primary weaknesses by midnight. Focus on their unsecured debt ratio. Midnight done. Marcus's voice crackled with excitement. 2 days later, the initial bids were in the market. The volume was unprecedented. His firm, Citadel Holdings, immediately recognized the pattern. A massive, coordinated attack on their most profitable division. He called my private line, the one only he and my counsel knew. I let it ring twice before answering. Isabella, what the hell are you doing? His voice was strained, no longer threatening, just desperate. Following up on the promise I made last week, I replied, the tone flat. Making it professional. This is not professional. This is destruction. Sector 7 is the backbone of Citadel. If you take that, the whole structure collapses. That sounds like poor diversification on your part, I noted. Perhaps you should have focused less on distractions and more on securing your assets. Pull the bid now. We can negotiate. I'll give you double what you paid for that initial stake. I am not interested in profit, James. I am interested in ownership. And I am already at 45%. By the time we finish this conversation, I'll probably be at 51. He went silent, calculating the damage. You leveraged everything, didn't you? The house, the stocks, everything I gave you. Everything I earned, I corrected him. And yes, every single asset is tied up in this acquisition. It's a clean slate, James, for both of us. The difference is, my slate is marked with a successful takeover, and yours is marked with Chapter 11 paperwork. You won't get away with this. I will ruin you. I still have connections. Then use them, I challenged him, but use them quickly. Because the deadline for the final bid is tomorrow morning, and I intend to sign the papers renaming Sector 7 before lunch. Good luck, James. I hung up, signaling to Sterling to increase the bidding pressure by 10% immediately. The game was no longer about revenge. It was about market dominance. The next morning, I was signing the final papers. Sector 7 was now officially under Phoenix Acquisitions. The financial news reported the hostile takeover as the Widow's Gambit, citing the speed and ruthless efficiency. James was nowhere to be seen, likely holed up with his depleted legal team. Sterling pushed the documents across the desk. It's done. We paid slightly over valuation, but the strategic damage to Citadel is irreversible. What's the next move? We consolidate Sector 7's assets and stabilize the debt. Then, we wait. Wait for what? For James to make a mistake he can't recover from. That mistake came 3 days later. He tried to sell off the remaining shares of Citadel Holdings to a competitor, a desperate attempt to salvage cash before the market fully reacted to the Sector 7 loss. I received the tip-off from a board member I had quietly cultivated months ago. He's selling to Omnicorp, I told Sterling over a secure line. Omnicorp? That's his biggest rival. He's throwing in the towel. No, he's trying to set up a quick liquidity trap, transferring responsibility for Citadel's massive debt onto Omni, while walking away with a cash payout. That's illegal asset stripping, Isabella. We can't prove intent. We don't need to. We just need to bid higher, faster. Call Omnicorp. Tell them the deal is off the table. Phoenix is acquiring Citadel Holdings as a whole. Not for profit, but for asset management. We'll absorb the debt, restructure the entity, and save the jobs he intended to sacrifice. Sterling paused. You want to buy the carcass? Why? Because if Omnicorp buys it, James gets cash and walks. If I buy it, James gets nothing but the satisfaction of knowing I own his entire professional life. And the press loves a good rescue story. It cleans up my image after the ruthless takeover headlines. Within hours, the bidding war began. Omnicorp was aggressive, but they were working with finite capital. I had structured Phoenix Acquisitions to be liquid and flexible. We didn't need to win by a small margin. We needed to crush their will to bid. The phone rang. It was the CEO of Omnicorp. Isabella, this is ridiculous. You don't want Citadel. It's a money pit, now. I am aware of Citadel's liabilities, Mr. Henderson, but I am also aware of its long-term strategic value to Phoenix. We are prepared to go to $4 billion. A silence. You are overpaying by $1 billion. I am ensuring proprietary information does not fall into the wrong hands, I countered smoothly. Specifically yours. I suggest you withdraw your bid now, or I will ensure you spend the next 6 months in a regulatory audit. Hell, he grumbled, but the threat of regulatory scrutiny was effective. Consider the bid withdrawn. I hung up and looked at Sterling. Citadel Holdings is ours. The irony is staggering, he commented. You now own the company he spent 20 years building, and he receives zero compensation because the net liabilities exceed the valuation. Perfect. Now let's talk about the final cleanup. I need James out of the loop entirely. He still has keys to the executive office. We filed the restraining order simultaneously with the Omnicorp acquisition, Sterling confirmed. He is legally barred from all corporate properties immediately. The following day, I stood in James's former corner office, the one with the panoramic view of the city. My office now. I didn't move any of his heavy, dark furniture, but I had the cleaning crew box up all his personal items, his golf trophy, his expensive whiskey collection, the photos of us before everything went sideways. I called the delivery service myself. I need a package delivered to Mr. James Harper's residence. Signature required. Market, personal effects, final notice. Later that evening, the package was confirmed delivered. I was sitting at his old mahogany desk, reviewing the internal debt structure of Citadel Holdings, when my secure line flashed. It was an unrecognized number, but I knew who it was. I answered. You have absolutely nothing left, James, I stated before he could speak. His voice was hoarse, laced with true defeat. You took everything. You didn't just win, you annihilated me. Why? You broke the contract, I said simply. Our marriage was a partnership, financial and personal. You compromised the personal side through reckless actions, and then you thought you could compromise the financial side through greed. I showed you what happens when you underestimate the opposition. I showed you what loyalty costs when it's betrayed. We could have worked together. We could have run this empire together. We did, I pointed out. But you didn't see me as a partner. You saw me as an accessory. Now, I am the owner. You are the liability. Phoenix Acquisitions doesn't carry liabilities. What happens now? He asked. The question wasn't demanding. It was pleading for a final mercy. You have 30 days to vacate your primary residence and liquidate all remaining private assets to settle any personal outstanding debt. The corporate entity is mine to manage. You are a footnote. Do not contact me again, James. Ever. I hung up, looking out over the lights of the city. Phoenix Acquisitions was soaring, built on the ashes of Citadel Holdings and the bitter, precise execution of a plan refined over months of calculated silence. The business was thriving. The ledger was clean. The score was settled. I closed the laptop, leaving the dark office behind. The future required focus, not reflection. The future required focus, not reflection. I left the building and didn't look back at the glass tower that now housed Phoenix Acquisitions, a testament to efficiency and cold planning. I drove straight to the loft I had quietly secured 6 months prior, using a shell corporation and a private trust. It was minimalist, concrete, glass, and silence. No shared memories existed there. I called Sarah, my corporate and now divorce attorney, as soon as I opened the door. He knows about Citadel, I stated, skipping the greeting. The market is reacting. His stock is worthless, and he's been publicly stripped of management rights. It's done professionally, Sarah confirmed, her voice crisp even through the phone. She had handled the corporate execution flawlessly. Good. Now for the personal execution. The papers need to be served immediately. Before he can react. Before he finds a lawyer who tries to freeze assets. I need them at the house by 8 a.m. The prenup is ironclad, and your personal assets were transferred last month. He gets the mandatory share of marital property, which, after the corporate debt settlements, is precisely 0 that he can touch. He gets the house, which has 3 outstanding mortgages he personally guaranteed. You walk away clean. Are you sure you don't want to send a courier? I want to deliver them myself. I need the finality, I told her. I want to see the look on his face when he realizes he lost everything, inside and outside the bedroom, because he was careless. I spent the night reviewing financials, not sleeping. By 7:30 a.m., I was driving the familiar road to what had been our house. The massive, pretentious gate felt heavy. I keyed in the code one last time. The front door was already unlocked. James was standing in the cavernous living room, wearing a crumpled suit shirt, clutching a tumbler of amber liquid. The room looked the same, but the air felt toxic, smelling of failure and stale scotch. His eyes, usually commanding, were bloodshot and frantic. He didn't shout immediately. He just stared at me, calculating if I was the source of the devastation. "You called me yesterday," he stated, his voice low, shaking with disbelief. "You said it was settled. You assured me I was a footnote." "You are," I agreed, stepping fully into the room. I held a large, sealed manila envelope. "Professionally, you are finished. Phoenix is mine. The leverage is mine. The future is mine." He took a bière, stepped towards me, the scotch sloshing. "How long? How long have you been planning this corporate coup? Did you even care about the marriage? Was it all a performance?" I didn't flinch. "The marriage was real, James, until you broke it. You violated the trust, the contract, the partnership. I merely responded with equal severity. You cheat at home, you get cheated in business. It's a very simple equation. He stopped, realizing the futility of his anger. He looked broken, not just financially, but emotionally hollowed out. All the years, the capital we built together, you wiped me out. You wiped yourself out the moment you thought your indiscretions wouldn't have consequences, I countered, walking slowly towards the large marble countertop. I placed the manila envelope down. This is the final paperwork, the divorce decree. Sarah's office will handle the filing this afternoon. He didn't touch the envelope. His eyes were fixed on my face, searching for a single flicker of regret or sadness. You're divorcing me now? After you've taken everything I worked for, he spat. I'm divorcing you because you slept with your assistant while I was restructuring your debt. I took your company because you left me with nothing but fury and a mountain of legal knowledge. You left me for ruin. I chose resilience. The company was just the instrument of my resilience. He scoffed, taking a hard drink. You think this is justice? This petty, calculated destruction? It's not petty, James. It's precise. And it's not destruction. It's reallocation of assets based on performance metrics. You failed the partnership. You defaulted on the vows. This is the penalty. I pulled a small duffel bag from behind the sofa. The bag containing the few personal items I had left behind. A journal, a specific cashmere sweater, some old photos. I've retrieved my remaining belongings. The keys to the safe deposit box, the Tesla, and the Patek Philippe are on the counter beside the papers. They are mine under the terms of the prenup, ratified by the new corporate structure. He finally lunged forward, not towards me, but towards the paperwork, his hand knocking over the tumbler. The amber liquid spread across the pristine marble. You can't do this. I'll fight it. I'll tell the board. I'll tell the press what you did. I cut him off, my voice steady, professional. You'll tell them what? That your estranged wife, who holds 78% of the controlling debt and asset management shares, executed a legal takeover? Good luck explaining that to the SEC. Furthermore, I pointed to a clause near the top of the pile. You will note the non-disparagement clause. Any attempt to slander me or Phoenix Acquisitions will result in an immediate, aggressive legal countersuit for damages that will leave you in unsecured debt until you are 80. He read the clause quickly, his eyes widening as he recognized the severity of the language. He knew Sarah wrote legislation. She didn't write threats. I have nothing left, he whispered, collapsing onto the sofa, the fight draining out of him. You have the house, the debt, and the consequences of your choices, I corrected him. That is more than you deserve. I turned, reaching the front door. I paused, feeling the weight of the last 4 years lift from my shoulders. The anger was gone, replaced by a cool, calm satisfaction. I loved the man I thought you were, James. The ambitious, loyal partner. You killed him. I simply buried the evidence and restructured the estate. I walked out, closing the door softly behind me. I didn't wait to hear his reaction. I didn't need to. The silence of the city street felt cleaner, sharper. Driving away, I didn't feel rage or sadness. I felt peace. The sort of profound stillness that comes only after enduring a prolonged war and winning decisively. I had traded a life of shared uncertainty and betrayal for a future of absolute control and solitary strength. It was a fair exchange. The lesson was learned, the debt was paid, and the ledger was balanced. Loyalty is the only asset that truly matters, and when it is withdrawn, the consequences must be absolute. I had upheld my side of the final contract. Now, the future of Phoenix Acquisitions was waiting, and I had a company to run. A company built entirely on the principle that if you give everything, you deserve to take everything. I drove toward the sunrise, focused only on the road ahead. The past was a closed deal. If You read this far? Thank you for witnessing the end of this journey. Do you think James ever truly understood the cost of his mistake? I'd like to know what you think.